Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hello and welcome to this episode of our show. This is your host, Keith Doherty. Today our special guest is top real estate broker Holly Couture of the Couture Group at Keller Realty based out of Westminster, Colorado. Holly's approach to real estate is built on personal touches, win-win deals, and positive results. She has 9 years of real estate experience and a background in education. With her dedicated leadership, the Couture Group was ranked number 23 in Colorado Business's top 100 women-owned companies. She is a market expert, and she brings a wealth of knowledge and expertise to buying and selling in this market. She and her team of experienced and dedicated professionals strive to provide every client with unprecedented support, knowledge, and guidance on every transaction from start to finish. All right, with all that said, Holly, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it, Keith.
And Holly, if we could start for our listeners, what led you into real estate? Was it something you always knew you wanted to do, or did you maybe stumble into it?
You know, it's a great question, Keith. So basically, I was a elementary school teacher for 7 years, and when I was buying my first house, I was raised, my mom was a realtor, and basically, when I bought my first house, I decided, you know what, I could do this, I think, a little bit better, and it's super fun, and I love being around people, and I want to help others, and that was really what started me to go towards this new career path.
And can you talk a little bit about what personal attributes, traits, or qualities you think have most contributed to the success that you've had in real estate?
Sure. A lot of it, I think, comes from drive, number one. And when I say that, I think drive can be a misconception. It doesn't mean going 90 miles an hour at all times. It means going for your bigger why, finding out what drives you for your big why in life, whether that would be family, self, lifestyle, career, helping others. And so drive was a huge thing that I have to make a difference in a positive way in other people's lives. Another, I think, huge thing is to have no fear. In sales in general, it's very scary to put yourself out there. And I think combined with being authentic, where you know that you're in a situation where it's not a script and you're being true to yourself and your values and your integrity, that tends to help dissipate the fear of going forwards and knowing that you're doing the best job possible in your heart and in your mind for somebody else, to give them a situation where they're going to have a great experience and bring that back circled around to you. So I think having the combination of those things, intuition and knowledge of your job, will make a big difference in your business.
And do you think, give our listeners an example of when these traits have played a role in your path towards success?
Yeah, sure. I mean, they always talk about, I know you've heard it, of eating the elephant in the room one bite at a time. I think going big or go home. I've always put myself, as I just said, you don't want to live in fear, but you kind of do to have to push yourself through. And I think making that big phone call, calling somebody, whether it's a president of a company where you didn't think that they would even want anything to do with you, but making that call to make your introduction, had changed my life for sure, with examples of, different builders or different corporations to help with their HR departments, has played a great role in my business and success. And I think also, just making sure that you go for it every day. I was raised, with playing sports and being competitive and making sure that you don't leave anything, you leave it all out there on the field, so to speak. And I think that having that was huge for my business, to push me through and be prepared and just go for it. At the end of the day, you just got to go for it, because life is short and you don't want to ever sit there with a regret saying, gosh, I wish I had done that a little bit harder. I knew I should have done that and pushed myself a little bit harder. The history of that is 9 times out of 10, if people had just tried one more time, they would have hit it. And never, ever give up.
Excellent. Yeah, I like that, especially, when it comes to sales, which obviously real estate's definitely about sales. It's, that the really good salespeople will, they love getting no's because they know that one more no is just one step closer to a yes. So like you said, worst case,
Absolutely.
you ask and they say no, so you move on. But that's an exciting thing because, hey, I'm one step closer to getting that yes that I need to could potentially change things. Excellent.
Absolutely.
And I think, whenever somebody builds a successful business and a career, that sometimes the path to get there is filled with bumps in the road along the way. Can you talk about some of the adversities and trials that you've had to overcome in order to achieve your goals?
Well, absolutely. I think that ties into what you and I were just chatting about is that, the fear of rejection in general, rejection to anybody can be something that can crush people to say, I'm just not going to do this anymore. And letting go of that and not taking it personally. And I really believe the mindset behind it of failing forward. And I teach everybody on my team that you cannot learn, you cannot get better, you cannot, be a better version of you without a failure or a rejection. And so I feel that, getting out of my own way is huge. And, dust yourself off, pick yourself up. Stuff happens. I mean, everybody has something, but if you know how to push through, again, with going back to Keith, that big why of what drives me to get me up every morning and be the best version I can be, whether that means, a better mom, a better wife, a better sister, a better friend, a better real estate agent, believe it or not. I think that's huge. So finding your purpose and how you're going to make somebody's day better. I have found that, there's a bump in the road where I may not have gotten the listing I wanted, or going back and having the courage to say, hey, I know I didn't get it, and I would love to know why. Is there anything I could have done differently to have wowed you? And really listening, because I think in general, as a human, it's very hard to hear people being critical of you. And our number one thing is to always get defensive. But if we can really sit there and listen to how we can improve and follow those cues of success, that is going to make or break your business in general, whether it's in real estate or whatever else you're doing.
Excellent. And I think one of the points you made there, which I really want to stress, because I think it's really important, is the feedback. And I think, like you said, a lot of people are afraid that, to go back and say, hey, I didn't get this listing, or I didn't close this deal, or I didn't get this. Can you just share with me a little bit, why did you choose, X, Y, Z over me? And take that in a constructive manner. And then maybe it was something small. Maybe it was the way you presented something. And if you can correct that the next time, maybe you're going to start to win more deals. But like you said, I think a lot of people are afraid because it's like criticism, it's negative. I don't want to hear anything bad, but I think that's a great piece of advice for anybody, that if you don't get the deal, try to reach out and see, like you said, what could I have done better? Why didn't you choose me? What was it based upon? And then just use that to help yourself grow for the next time.
And I think it's important too, Keith, that not only with the obstacle, but also the success. That's one of the hugest things I've noticed, because when you don't ask, like, what is the follow-up of, what is the feedback? Okay, you loved working with us. We got to the finish line. What was the best part? Because then you can capitalize on that. It's really taking that metric of individuality and as a team purpose to make sure you don't have everyone is going to have a rejection, but to just really capitalize on the positive.
Absolutely. So obviously, these adversities come up for you. There's trials, there's bumps on the road. What keeps you going despite these obstacles? Why don't you give up? What's your driving force?
It's, again, I think it's that fail forward mindset. And I was a teacher for a long time, and I just feel that everybody has something. And I want to wake up and I want to be a better version, and I want to live a life that was a legacy where I'm making a difference in somebody's life. And I think that when you say, why don't I give up? It's a little bit of the competitive nature, but I also feel that, you can't give up. You can't let people down. And when you surround yourself, there's always that cue of success in self-help books. You are who you surround yourself with. And there's a lot of people relying on me, whether it's professionally or personally. And I want to be that example to people and be authentic and real. And, stuff happens, and that's just part of life. And you have to take it as a gift. I mean, you really do, because if you want to have a deep relationship, you have to bring others with you, and you have to learn through the problems. And at the end of the day, once that happens, we are all better people for it at the end.
Excellent. And I guess kind of looking forward, what's your vision for your business and your career over the next 5 years?
That's a great question. So every year I write out a 5-year vision, believe it or not. And now when I find that when I do have that written out, I tend to hit it faster than 5 years. But going through the vision and seeing what I like to do, I love coaching others. I love growing and empowering people, whether they're clients, friends, or staff members. In the next 5 years, I believe that I want to be a business that produces not only the highest level of customer service, +1. The book Raving Fans was huge. It's a staple in my business. I don't know if you've ever read that one, but it's the +1 wow service. And I want to be a leader in the industry by example of how having a servant mindset and an education passion of mine, it will lead us to the other side of a better client experience, a better client life. I believe that we will be producing over 80 million in volume and coaching others to pay it forward and really start teaching that. Go back to the basics. That's the vision of 5 years. That's where we're going to be. We will be a dominant force to be reckoned with.
And I guess kind of on top of that, what do you feel is the best way you market yourself as a real estate professional so you can have continual growth?
The number one thing is being authentic. And what I mean by that is I don't pay for things. My business is 98% relationship based. And when I say that, Keith, I mean that I am real. I get invited to weddings, funerals, birthdays, baby showers. I mean, I am part of these people's lives. I've built my business on the human side of it, not the deal side of it. And for me, that has made the difference. And so I think that when you are authentic, that is the number one thing that will set you apart no matter what industry you're in, and being real with people and genuine. That would be the number one thing I think that has made me who I am today.
And I think sometimes when the general public looks at real estate agents, they don't fully understand the value they provide from both the buyer and a seller standpoint. What do you think the biggest misconception or myth people have about working with a real estate agent?
This question I do love. I think the biggest misconception is that they don't think we do anything, and it's an easy job, and it's collecting a check, and there's nothing to it. That is the farthest thing from the truth. I can tell you from the minute that we are engaged with a person and they have a property to sell or they want a property to buy, is really the hardest work is, it's a fast market, it's so easy, you're not really doing anything. There's actually a whole entire system, checklists that we are providing. It's a higher level service than most people. I went on a listing appointment last week, and the gentleman said to me after everything was done, he said, "Holly, wow, this is the most amazing thing I've ever heard, but it sounds so expensive." And the actuality of it is, Keith, is that it's not. It's the same as what our standard industry does. It's just that we have care and concern in our industry. We're following the market trends. I'm updating the client. The communication has to be there. If you have no news, you tell them. If you have bad news, you tell them. It's just constantly being there to serve the client and really, identifying what they're going to need before they even need it. And our staff and our company is trained to think like that, 5 steps ahead of the client, to make sure that they are being served at the highest level with whatever they need, whether it's help getting documents, or let me run that errand for you, or let me do something to help get ready for the property to sell. There's a lot of pieces that go to it. The easiest piece is getting the actual deal. It's the hardest part. It's the most emotional deal somebody will make in their life. The average person only does this 1 to 5 times a lifetime. So treating it as if this is a big deal, and as if they are the only client we have, really sets a home run for our team because there is a lot that goes on in the background that clients do not realize what we are doing.
I like what you said there, and I think it's really important to point it out, is that you basically said that you're providing the same overall service, right? As another agent could show up and potentially list their house and sell it. But what you do, which I think is important to point out to people, they need to pay attention is that you communicate the value you provide. And you had the homeowner asking you, okay, wow, this doesn't sound like what a normal realtor would do for me. How much is it going to cost me? Because it sounds like I can't afford you because you do so much. So it sounds like you really communicate that value on a higher level than a lot of other potential agents that you're going up against, which I think is really important.
100%. Yep.
And Holly, let's say you get a call from a family member or a friend, and they're in another state and they want to sell their home. Now, obviously, with your experience and being part of Keller Williams, you could easily look up an agent and do a referral. But from a general advice standpoint, what advice would you give them about selecting an agent that could best serve their needs?
Sure. So one of the first things I would do, and I treat it as if they are here in my local market, Keith, but you want to ask, what is their goal? What's the end goal? And what is the big why of why they're moving or they want to purchase? Because depending upon what their answer is, it would structure me to the next question. Again, just trying to fill their needs. I don't think enough people active listen to what's really going on. And so once you can identify why they want to do this, I have a list of interview questions that I share, and I send in an email format for interview questions to say, okay, this would be a good question to ask an agent to compare somebody to another agent, and why should they go with your service? And then obviously, if anybody across the country ever asks me, because I do get this question quite often, I then choose some candidates and I will go out personally and even conduct some interviews on top of an agent, even if they have somebody in mind, just to make sure I know that that level of service will be the same that we would use and present here in Colorado.
Excellent. And I guess kind of, on the flip side of that, I think it's always kind of nice to maybe help some up and coming and some new agents. Let's say you have a new agent. You obviously run your own team. Let's say you bring a new agent on your team. Or a new agent in general. What advice would you give that new agent about, to in order to get a deal? Obviously, given the fact that they're new, they don't have the experience you do, they don't have that reputation to leverage. How would you counsel them in order for them to potentially go in and let's say get a listing deal for themselves?
Absolutely. So right now, I mean, I'm always looking for agents to join our team and our growing company. So thank you for bringing up this question because I think it's important. And I also think that even when you're a big volume producer, it's great to always remember that I started somewhere. So what set me apart would be, first and foremost, make sure you have knowledge. There's nothing more unappealing to someone like myself or a consumer when someone shows up and they are not prepared. I don't care if it's the first time or the 1 millionth time, having that level of knowledge and showing that you're polished and prepared goes a very long way. And asking the right questions. So again, like I was just saying with the family member, I think something that sets agents apart is when they can actually listen to what the consumer needs by asking the right questions. That 9 times out of 10 will strike a home run with a consumer because they're feeling cared for right out of the gate. When someone just comes in and they try to power drive through their presentation, they haven't asked the right questions, then you're not sure what they need to be serving the client. And just by opening up the interview and opening up the appointment with questions about who they are as a person to break down the walls, because I want people to remember, just as much as the agent is stressed out if this is your first time ever, the client is stressed out. This is one of the biggest deals of their life, and people forget that. So asking the right questions, being prepared with market data should strike you apart. And again, being authentic to what you believe and having that servant mindset to serve somebody else, you're already 9 times ahead of another agent, even a seasoned one, because they get lazy.
let's see. Obviously, you're based out of the Westminster, Colorado area. And if somebody's looking for real estate services or an agent in that general area, what's the best way they can find out more information about you and how you can help them?
Absolutely, Keith. So our main number, they can give us a call at 303-539-5482 is our main line number, which our staff, we have somebody here at all times. There will always be somebody answering the phone to set up an appointment. And then the other way is you can go to our website. It's www.thecouture, and there's a lot of different information there, whether you're a home buyer, an investor, a seller. There's tons of information that you can get there, and just set up an appointment is the best thing to do, where I would love to sit down. Even if the misconception here too, I do want to point this out, is a lot of people don't realize that even if they're a year out, now is the time to sit with somebody like myself and my team to make sure that we make a strategy for you. So time doesn't go by and then you say, gosh, I wish I would have done this sooner. So you can be most prepared, most educated, and have all the tools you need to make sure you're doing it at the right time for your family or for yourself personally.
Excellent. Well, Holly, obviously we want to thank you for taking time out of your schedule to come here and share your professional real estate experience with our listeners. And if you're listening and you want to learn more about Holly, like she said, you can go to her site. You can give her a call. Also, below this interview, we'll have a link to her site and any other contact information we have so you can see how she can help you with your real estate needs. So with that said, everybody, until our next show, have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.